Welcome to another episode of the Modern Hotelier. We are coming to you from the trade show floor at the Hospitality Show. We are joined by Jeff Kessinger from Jonas Hospitality. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. How's the show going so far?
It's great. It's not quite as busy from a prospect standpoint,
Right.
but all the bells and whistles and tools are in place to have it be successful as it grows, for sure.
Okay. Awesome.
But great networking, great connections with other vendors, so it's been good.
That's good. So tell us, how did you get involved in hotel technology?
Good question. Gosh, as far back as I can remember working, was in hospitality when I went to school. I was looking for a job. I was a young guy. I started off as a night auditor and a bellman on the night shift, and then started working operationally within the hotel while I was in school. Got out of that, moved to Chicago right during the downturn of the financial market, which was what I was majoring in. So that didn't provide a lot of job opportunities. So I ended up hooking up with a hotel group, Stoker Hotels, way back in the day. That's a flashback, right? Yeah. Went through their training program and then, worked in operations for many years and realized that I would rather work for companies working with those hotels and working in the hotels, because that's a lot of work and it's a lot of grind. So segued into the technology sector, was in training for a little while, then ended up in management and then into sales. In sales, I've been in sales for the last 20 years. So.
Wow, cool.
Awesome. So 2024 is coming to an end. 2025 is approaching. What do you think are going to be some of the largest challenges facing hoteliers over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, probably nothing different than what they are today, which is, I think, labor shortages are a killer right now. Cost of labor, cost of operations are making things very difficult. And I think there's so much technology. Just look around this room. I mean, there's so much technology and so many different specialized nuances of technology that there's too much. It's too much to absorb. There's too much to do. And honestly, I think disparate systems that are trying to work together but don't necessarily work together are making operators' jobs to just find the technology a challenge, and then not having those integrated, not having a one-stop view of who that guest is that you're trying to service are pieces that, when you have all these disparate systems, you really don't have much of an opportunity to consolidate. And I think that is a definitely challenge that everyone's trying to fix right now.
Yep.
So we think we're doing.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. What do you think some of the advantages and disadvantages are of having an all-in-one technology platform?
Another good question. I think disadvantages are the obvious, right? A mile wide and an inch deep, right? The development resources when you are an all-in-one shop where you're trying to build it from the single platform really creates a situation where, your developers may not know the depth of the product that you're trying to build to compete with the bolt-ons, or they are, there's no funding, right? Or, you don't have the development dollars to really put the energy into what you need to grow to make the system work across the board. The advantage of having an all-in-one is that you got one throat to choke. Yeah. That's the obvious one. But then you also are in a situation where you have connectivity between the systems that are all within the one platform. So I think that there's some good and the bad, but I think the real challenge is, can you do what you need to do, and are you getting the data that you need to get to be able to service the guests in a way that they are demanding right now? Because they are a very different traveler than they were even 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned is there are a lot of technology companies here. It seems like companies are popping up every day. Mm-hmm. Between that and the economic trends, how do you see guest expectations changing?
I mean, just the advent of the phone and technology in general has made, responsiveness and an understanding of what they know they can get. The complexities of travel are no longer complex. It's like, I know what I want. I know where I want to go. I know what they do, as a vendor or as a hotelier that's trying to establish themselves as a brand. So they're more sophisticated. And because of that, they require a lot. They expect a lot from the suppliers and the hoteliers. And if you don't have the tools to deal with that or to exceed what they're expecting you to do, you're really going to be in a jeopardy situation. And you're never going to meet what the expectations are. So I think that they're through the roof. Honestly, they're through the roof.
I agree.
And if you want to be that leader in that space, you better know everything about them, and you better be able to service them beyond what they're expecting you to do, because they want you to exceed, but they don't expect you to exceed. You know what I mean? So I think expectations are very high, and you need to have the tools in place to support that.
Yeah.
That's great. So how can hoteliers help increase guest loyalty and guest loyalty program enrollment?
You do need to have a tech stack, and I know this is an industry conversation, not necessarily a Jonas conversation, but in our world, we specialize in the idea of bringing businesses on. We acquire. That's what we do.
Right.
We acquire and we grow, and then we develop when we need to develop. But we tried to put a technology stack together that was it is very specific to hospitality, and it is very diverse in what segment of the hospitality it actually supports. Right. With that, we created our unified platform, which is what you need to be able to expand the loyalty environment of your guests. And really, to answer your question, is you need to have a tech stack in place. You need to have integration in place, and then you need to have visibility to what that information provides you. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to do anything with loyalty, and then you certainly aren't going to be able to capitalize on that loyalty on what the guest is expecting of you. You can't exceed it if you don't even know what they really are.
Right.
And most PMSs and most solutions out there, they support one element of it, right? I can get the data, I can hold the data, but then what do I do with that data? Yeah. So you can't, how can you have a loyalty program if you don't really have the tools around it and really understand who that guest is, right?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
One thing that we talk about on our podcast a lot is how hotels are losing money to OTAs. What are some opportunities for hotels to captivate direct bookings that some hoteliers might not be taking advantage of?
Well, knowing who your guests are, that's key. Having a GMS or a guest management solution in place so that you can communicate with them, before, during, and after, and then capitalize on that data you get to communicate again after they've left to help build that brand loyalty. Doing that, obviously, the booking engine is part of that guest management, because if they don't know, they can go directly to the site to do the booking, to save the cost of the OTAs. That's your first mistake, right? And then if you have that direct booking engine, you need to get them to that, right? And how do you get them to that booking engine is by creating a loyalty program that communicates, so they can say, hey, you come stay with us. We'll save you 10% that we're giving away to the OTAs anyway. Price guarantees, direct bookings, and then having dynamic web content on those booking engines. Is the ancillary revenue is a critical piece that a lot of hoteliers want to do but don't know how to do, because they don't have the hooks in place to be able to support the pushing of that ancillary revenue. And the direct engine is the source that allows that to happen. A lot of the CRS providers that obviously integrate with the PMSs, they have certainly ancillary revenue tools within it, but you're going to then pay again. So knowing your guests, creating the loyalty is how you're going to get them to a direct booking environment. And the booking engine needs to be dynamic and attractive.
Yeah.
And a lot of them that are out there that are not direct, that are not controlled by you, the development of that, you really get what you get. And it's, they all look, there might be some folks out there that say, no, that's not true, Jeff. We do things differently than the next CRS provider. But the reality is that they all kind of function and flow the same way, and you have no control over that. You just can piecemeal the content and the imagery. But if you have a direct booking engine that you can actually build and scope to the way you operate as a hotelier, can change that quite a bit.
So one of the biggest topics we always talk about is the guest experience. And it seems like everyone we talk to wants to talk about, what guests are expecting. So how can hotels do a better job of leveraging technology to improve the guest experience?
Yeah, I think that's our secret sauce.
Okay.
When we talk about that, because we have this flyer that we often give to people, and it's like the family circus. You know,
Okay.
if you remember that cartoon
Yeah.
way back in the day, where you got little Bubbles, and then you got little Jeffrey going from one part of the house to the yard to where the dog house is. You know, and it's like you see the journey of the dog and Jeffrey, right? But in our world, for it to be successful, for that to become valuable to you, you got to know what that guest journey is, and you got to follow it from the very first communication all the way through to the exit, and then the rebooking. And if you don't know, again, we go back to the who is your guest and what do you actually know about them, right? And with all these disparate systems that are in play today, how is it possible that I can know what's in that PMS and what's in that sales and catering, what's in the spa solution or what's in the CDP or the CRM? How do you know if they're not connected and they're not communicating? And then how do you build the loyalty with these guests if you can't manage that flow from that inception call all the way through and deliver exceptional service? So in our world, where we take our unified platform, which is our CDP, and we have our own solutions that are part of our native to our world, that are obviously more tightly integrated with our CDP, which is data, which we can use to create that loyalty and keep them coming back. But then we also connect to disparate systems. So, you know, like let's say you're a hotelier that has multiple hotels, and some of them may be flags that have a requirement to use a certain PMS, and maybe they've got some luxury independent hotels that they have more flexibility in what they do with their technology. But you're the hotelier. Why am I forced to have to focus on two systems and get data out of this one and get data out of that one, and then try to do something with that data? So we make it very usable. The data is very usable, and it is real-time seamless. And then again, from a journey standpoint, going back to the family circus, being able to control that flow of that guest all the way through the booking to the ancillary revenue that you're pushing, because you know so much about them that you only collect because all these systems are filtering up, to managing the booking process. So like take PMSA that is not your PMS. Like we have PMSs we connect to that don't belong to us, but that data is that data in that PMS. We can get that data, and then we still can book, even though that PMS has a whole booking process and their own reservation process. We can support that within our CDP. So we can actually do frontline bookings for all these disparate systems, and then manage that reservation, manage that guest, and then the guest can do that too. And the guest can add value by, ancillary booking opportunities. So you got to know the guests, and you got to have the tools to be able to extract and then do something with it.
That's great.
100%.
Jeff, for those that might not be familiar with Jonas Hospitality, can you give us an overview of what you all do?
Yeah, sure. So we're a tech company, right? And it's really interesting because that question is multifold. So we got Jonas Hospitality, which is a grouping of technology companies that are best at what they do within the hospitality space. Tightly integrated, a core component of our solution. And within Jonas Hospitality, we're really a division within Jonas Software, which is software across all vertical platforms that may be hospitality, may not be, but they are still part of our ecosystem, right? And we leverage the best of breed, we leverage their skills, what they know, what their best practices are. All of these companies within that Jonas world share those practices. And our intent as a company is not to buy and sell or buy and dismantle or kill something so we can take the customer base. Our role or our desire as a company is to acquire an undervalued and overperforming company so that we get the most value out of it. Because ideally, you don't want to have to develop, you want to be able to grow something that's already established, and it's faster, and then you have more control, and then you have the expertise within that silo of what they do really well. And that best practice can flow over to the next company. But at the end of the day, it's a large grouping. Jonas Software is a grouping of 150 companies. And then within the Jonas Software world, that's a component of Constellation Software, which is a global company that has, a very good performance, a public company that has a very good performance that outperforms most funds.
Wow.
But then it gives us, a solid financial base to be able to continue to grow and establish. And I think what Jonas does exceptionally well is they know how to pick out the right technology that supports the industry that they want to grow within. And in the hospitality world, I love the fact that I'm within Jonas Hospitality because I can go, I could work here. I could go, 9 different ways within the same company, or I can even go outside of the industry and go into another vertical industry within Jonas. So it's almost like you got a world of opportunity professionally, but you have a world of opportunity that's a solution for everybody. So it's like you don't have to leave. You come here and you've got a path for the rest of your life if you want to do it. So it's a great company.
It's like its own little universe.
Yeah, and a little nugget. I have only been with the company 9 months. So
wow.
I've been around. I have a lot of hospitality experience and a lot of industry experience with different providers. I think we worked for the same company at one point, or another company, and I'm pleasantly surprised at the complexity that we have, that we've created, that we. And all of our solutions are not the same either. And I guess getting back to who are we? We support so many different elements within hospitality, but not all of them are equal. Some of them do things better than others, but at the end of the day, they all do something very well, and then they all roll up and create an ecosystem that is gaining a lot of traction right now.
That's great. Well, this was great learning more about Jonas Hospitality.
Sure. Thanks for inviting us.
No, yeah, we loved having you. Can you let folks know how they could either get in touch with you, get in touch with Jonas Hospitality? What's the best way for people to do that?
J. Kessinger at jonashospitality.com.
Perfect. Well, this was great, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
This has been another episode of the Modern Hotelier with Jeff Kessinger, VP of Sales at Jonas Hospitality. Thanks for letting us stop by. And if you're watching or listening, have a great day. You made it to the end of the Modern Hotelier. Thanks for listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a guest or sponsor that would be a good fit, feel free to email us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. If you'd like to get some Modern Hotelier merch, click the merch button on modernhotelier.com or click the link below. Thanks and have a great day.